Okay, everyone, welcome to the first edition, the first time I'm doing this, of What Do I Really Think? And first of all, I want to share that I am actively thinking through the things that I'm sharing with you here. So this is real time, my opinion, my thoughts, and actually some of the stuff that I'm sharing, I'm literally thinking it through as I'm sharing it. So I'm not claiming that what I'm saying is right or it's the truth. Uh, and part of the intention behind this is to open the door for others to share what it is that they think, what's on their mind, because we all have a voice. And I do believe it's important to share that and to be in dialogue with each other, especially if we don't agree, especially if we have a different perspective or a different viewpoint. And so this was in part inspired by Nate Hagen's. Every week on his podcast, he does something called a Frankly, and he does different conversations with people throughout the week, as do I. So I have one-on-one conversations with people around meditation, around spirituality, around embodying and living one's truth, one's spirituality, and living one's purpose, vocation. I do group meetings around that. I do one-on-one meetings in person and online. So that's what I do. And I have a podcast. I have a podcast, Unspeakable Bliss, which this is being posted on Unspeakable Bliss as well. But I'm not a political commentator, or I don't label myself as that per se. However, I want to create this, as a way to open dialogue about the things that I'll be sharing in What Do I Really Think? And today's topic is conflict, war, and how that relates to our own personal lives. What can we do about that? What can be done about that? Especially if we're not directly in the midst of that war or that conflict. And of course, in some ways we are. We, meaning, I imagine if you're anything like me, you have problems, issues, obstacles, suffering that arises in your life. And we have to figure out what do we do about that? And what do we do about wars that are happening in the world? And what do we do about for example, something like 13 species go extinct every day, and this has something to do with humans' behavior, has an influence on that. So there's a lot going on, and I want to just share it as it's coming to me. So first of all, it appears there are things that I can't do, actions I can't take. I can make phone calls to representatives and ask for a stopping of the conflict. And by the way, that's the side, if I'm going to say, well, a side, so to speak, that I stand on. It is the side of stopping war. It is the side of peace. And it's, from what I understand from the research that I have done, and I have done significant, I don't know, 30, 40 hours of listening to different perspectives about what's actually happening, about what to do about it. And to be honest, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard for me to figure out what is actually going on when let me say this before I get into that. And this is why I'm pausing. I want to share to the best degree that I can the truth, what is true. And that's also in part why I have not been as, I haven't said too much on this topic. I've been doing these meditations for peace, where we collectively gather and we talk about the impact, and we witness each other, and then we create inner peace to help create world peace. Yes, I've been doing that. And I was tuning into a video before I started this a couple hours ago. And this is where I'm at with this. I believe, and by the way, anything I'm saying, I welcome your disagreement. I welcome whatever questions, comments, raising up a different point, something that I'm not seeing. Because like I said, I'm figuring this out. I'm sorting this out. I'm doing it live in this way, in these what do I really think videos. So put it in the comments. Maybe I'll address it in weekly. I'm going to be doing these weekly. So anyway, as I was watching this video, something connected for me that I'm pretty sure a degree of at very least confusion, and maybe even conflict, violence, suffering, is due to some kind of misinformation, some kind of misunderstanding. And that's why I'm really careful as to what I'm saying and what I'm sharing, because I want to, the best that I can, not be spreading something or saying something that isn't actually true, or only to later look back and go, oh wow, it was uh for example, my emotions that were getting the best of me, and I latched onto this thing and I was proclaiming it and saying it, and then I actually learned later that it wasn't true, and maybe that resulted in part by some people being hurt by me sharing whatever it is that I'm sharing. And I don't know about any of you. I imagine this to be probably true for you too, that whether it's the news, whether it's your social media feed, whether it's a YouTube video, a family member, whoever it is that's sharing their stance or their perspective, some people seem very confident. And a lot of the time when I'm listening, I don't know, I don't always say this. If the context is right and it feels appropriate, I will raise this up based on the relationship with this person. But how do these people know this? How do they know that? How do I how do I trust? This brings me back to the telephone game. There's this activity. So I'm skeptical. Okay, I'm skeptical. I'm not. It's hard for me to decipher what's actually happening. All I know is I want an end to war, and I want peace. Of course, easy for me to say when I'm not in the middle of that complicated conflict. But let's take the game telephone, for example. So telephone is a game where everyone stands in a circle, let's say a group of 20 people, and you whisper in one person's ear a sentence. Let's say I'm the one with the secret, and I say, Bob's hair is red. Just making that up. And the idea is everyone in that circle, everyone standing in a circle, to whisper to each other. I'd whisper to the first person, Bob's hair is red. That person would turn to the other person next to him and whisper, Bob's hair is red. So not everyone's hearing that. It starts with one person and goes, the message is passed between 20 people. And the idea is that we want to be honest. We want to, this is a game that people play as an exercise to see how a message gets transferred. And without fail, every single time I have played that game, it's a completely different message. by the time it gets to the last person in the circle, and then they say out loud what they've heard, and everyone looks around and we're like, what? How did it, what got lost in translation? That's amongst 20 people with a very simple sentence where probably no one has an agenda. I would imagine no one has an agenda to alter that message when it's going around the circle. So we have that example, and then we have these screens, the news. And I know I'm incredibly fortunate. I'll say this, I'm incredibly fortunate that pretty much my whole life, I'm 31 years old, pretty much my entire life, when I've gone outside the different environments, the cities that I've been in, I've seen a few fights here and there. I've never seen someone get killed. I've never seen someone get murdered. Maybe I've heard gunshots from far away. Could have been fireworks. I don't know. But I cannot help but notice. Again, I'm not drawing a conclusion in saying this, but I can't help but notice that the things on the screens report one thing. The words that I hear in the radios and, again, the news, the screens, shows reality to be one way. And then when I go outside, there's birds chirping. I'm not saying those things aren't happening, because I do definitely also believe that, let's say we did live in a relatively peaceful world. Well, yeah, when something bad happens, that's news. We pay attention to that because it can be a potential threat. Just like the different wars that are happening right now. I stand for protecting innocent lives, and there's this video that I was watching before this. It was saying that there are different things that we can tangibly do, like making phone calls to advocate for a ceasefire, a stopping. How is that helping? Uh, Maybe to some degree. I hope so. That's my prayer, that helps. And so, just to wrap up the point with this difference, again, I realize I've been incredibly fortunate to live in safe neighborhoods, and I believe it's healthy to have some degree of skepticism, and to question, and to really try and make sense of something before our own, maybe our own unprocessed or partially processed trauma is then the thing reacting to the information that we're seeing, and then we're in a fight or flight or freeze, and then playing that cycle out. That's how this stuff seems to get passed on, versus when we slow down and really consider, what's actually true here, and investigate and look for evidence, and to realize if we are in a fight or flight or freeze, and to address that, instead of spreading misunderstanding. And I really am not speaking to any one particular group or person. I am speaking to what I have been a victim to, and the perpetrator of, which is spreading information that's not true or accurate. So a lot of this whole "what do I really think" is an invitation to slow down and look, to do all of the actions that advocate for peace, and to also slow down and to discern and to be skeptical about what's really happening. And does somebody here and the things that I'm tuning into, does somebody have is there an agenda to somehow hijack me into fight, flight, or freeze? Because that could be profitable. That could be a profitable thing to hijack someone's nervous system into, and then to get them to pay attention to one thing versus another. And again, I am advocating to do everything that one does feel called to do to create more peace in the world, to stop violence, to stop war. Uh, I also believe that everyone has a different part to play. If I sometimes like to look at the whole world as a metaphor for the human body. So there are certain cells, I'm pretty sure, I'm not a biologist, but I'm pretty sure there's certain cells in my heart doing different things in my heart than the cells that grow my hair or the cells that are allowing me to have vision right now. So I don't think I would want a body full of all eyeball cells. Would even would even my eyes work? Would anything function? I don't think so. So what I mean by that is I believe that different people are called naturally, intuitively, uh, to behave in different ways to help alleviate suffering or to help create peace. Some people are creating some kind of protest in the street. Some people are making phone calls. Some people are doing peace meditations. And all of those collectively are helpful. And I do not believe that everyone is supposed to do one. I don't think it's an optimization thing. I don't believe that it's everybody do this one singular thing and that's what will create the solutions. I think it's a more holistic kind of response that's being called upon. Now, for myself, one of the ways that out of the collection of responses that I have, one of them is working with people one on one, is working with people in groups to tap into and to experience a peace, a freedom, a joy within and ultimately without, inside and on the outside, that is ever present, that is at the source of our attention. And I do believe that that path is useful for those who it is useful for. There are others that doing that focusing on the non-dual, interconnected bliss, joy, and peace that exists within, it might not be appropriate. I'm sure that practices and things like that are not appropriate for everyone all the time. Going into my previous point of optimization and everyone doing one thing. And at the same time, I have experienced that I can become too externally focused because I'm too focused on trying to solve a problem outside of myself when I have forgotten to do my own inner work and to realize my own true nature, or to spend enough time and presence and stillness and peace to recognize that if I paid more attention inside within, and not so if I were not so fixated on doing, fixing, external, this, that actually that would be a deeper resolution. And I would see the external if I change the way I look at things, then the things that I look at change. And I'm still discovering the level at which that's true. I'm still exploring. I don't know that I'll ever get to the end of that. That to me is humbling. I don't know that there's ever an end to me being present and observing the world, others, myself, what is meditation, contemplation, inquiry. I don't know that I have discovered. It's that to me is a complete mystery. And so in a way I have endless work in that regard. That's how I relate to this, is that I'll give the extreme version. In A Course in Miracles, and fill in the word, I'm going to use the word Christ. You could say Buddha, you could say nature, you could say spirit, whatever resonates for that being. Until I see the risen Christ in all beings, my job is not complete. My work is not done. And I don't know about you, but I imagine if you live in a world similar to the world that I live in, and I ask this of some spiritual teachers and people, like I'm a student to this. As much as I'm teaching, I'm sharing what I'm learning and practicing it. I ask this very thing because I don't see the risen Christ in all beings all the time. How do I see the risen Christ in people that are killing each other? That feels like almost impossible, something like that. And so I go, all right, well, I got to keep doing my work. I got to keep doing my cleansing, purification work, which I do find to be enjoyable as well. So the point is, for me, when I look around and I see a world where there is war, and some spiritual teachers, some that don't even consider themselves teachers, but some people say that war, conflict will never end, that's just part of the way this dimension is. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that one bit. I believe that we can live in a world of peace, of where there a world where not one person goes hungry and where there's not murder. Yeah, I believe that. And I would, for whatever it takes to work towards that. That's People approach things from different ways, whether I'm saying creating a peaceful world or stopping violence. I believe that that's the same thing. It's looking at it from sort of a different perspective. I believe that that's possible. I do. And I believe through changing my mind, through keeping my heart open, through continuing to do these different practices in all these different ways, that can be achieved. And note, I say in all these different ways. I don't really actually distinguish a difference between the inner and the outer. My inner work is the outer work. The stuff I need to work on most is I just need to look to my intimate relationships. And then further, when I look around at the world and things that are going on in the world, I go, man, I'm a part of this. And I've got a tremendous amount of work to do. Wow. And of course, uh I'm I would say at my very heart, I'm an artist and a creator. And so I do the things, I sit with people in meditations and presence and coaching sessions, creation sessions, writing. So I do the things that I feel like that's my specific tool. And I think everybody has their own specific set of tools that they can donate to help create a peaceful world. That's what I really think. I think it's it's hard to figure out what's actually happening. I don't even know if it's possible to figure out what's actually happening. But I also think that being on the side of peace, even like I've listened to so many perspectives as to why peace apparently is not a potential solution space, for example, for Israel, Gaza. And that's kind of convincing. When I hear some of these things, I'm like, God, yeah, how can it seems complicated, but I can still do what I can do. If you're fortunate to be safe, even if we're not, even if we are, we can still, there's part of my message, this is what I really think, is that each being, no matter what situation they're in, there's always hope. And I don't mean hope in some future thing. I actually mean something very specific. Really, I really more so mean faith. And I mean faith in the presence of God, faith in the present moment, faith that somehow, regardless of how messed up things can be appearing to us, that there's a reality that we can connect to that creates peace, and it's rooted in truth. It's rooted in love, even in the eye of the storm. So I'm inviting in conversation. I'm inviting in different perspectives. I'm inviting in, if I'm blind, if I'm missing something, if there's some error, if I've said something, you're like, dude, that was wrong. That was stupid. Let me know and tell me. I invite dialogue around this because, like I said, I'm figuring it out. I am practicing, implementing these things. Uh, Sometimes procrastinating on these things, sometimes not doing anything because I'm afraid. The variety is there. And I will be doing these weeklies, these what do I really think? And I'm open if there's someone that you want to connect me to, if you heard this and you think, wow, it'd be really good if I talked to this person about healing trauma, about stopping war, someone that really does have a very valuable perspective. I'm very open to talking to anyone that's open to speaking with me in a way where we can investigate, question our assumptions, and figure out how and what we can do, how how to make sense of this and what we can do about it. So you could share this video with them, or you could send their name in the comments, and then we could have a conversation on Unspeakable Bliss. And then each week, again, I'm going to be doing these, what do I really think? And what I really think, I think we, myself, and others sometimes underestimate the power that lives inside of them, the power to create peace inside and outside. I believe that that is overlooked and that peace, world peace and inner peace, it's closer than we think. Closer than I think. That's what I really think. One of the things that I really think. That if we slow down, if we're fortunate enough, if we're in a safe space to slow down and see what's arising, see what's happening, that peace collectively, when enough people come together to do that, as well as everyone doing their specific function of what they're supposed to be doing, of what they are called to be doing, that we can create peace from that place. Yeah. I don't want to end the video and then have the thought, oh, I wish I would have talked about that. I wish I would have commented on that. All right, that's all I got. Nothing else is coming. So I'll leave it at that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Share it with someone that you think this might be valuable for them to hear. I will be, again, sharing what do I really think on a weekly basis. And that's it. Honestly, I'm surprised. I thought this would be much longer than it is. So I don't know how long that was, but I hope this served you. I hope it was valuable for you. Let me know how it impacted you. Let me know what you disagree with. And I will see you next week on What Do I Really Think on Unspeakable Bliss. Peace, everyone.